I'll go ahead and call to order the meeting of the State Athletic Commission. We have interim chair Ndidi Massey, Commissioner John Signorelli, and Commissioner Edwin Torres present. We have a quorum for the meeting. And first order of business is a review of the minutes from the last meeting on November 9th, 2016. And those minutes were prepared, and you should have them with you. Any questions about the minutes? If not, we'll accept a motion and a second to accept the minutes.
They're all here, so moved.
I second it.
Approval of the minutes moved by Commissioner Torres, seconded by Commissioner Signorelli. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. And the minutes are approved. And getting into the main order of business today, next item on the agenda is a policy on the selection of officials for MMA and boxing events. And the commissioners should have a document that is entitled Commission Bulletin 2017-01, Selection of Officials for Professional Boxing and Mixed Martial Arts Events. And I'm going to pass it over to Eric Bentley, who will explain the resolution and the policy, what change, why the change is necessary, what the current policy is, and what we're proposing going forward. Eric?
Good morning, Commissioners. As we had discussed, we're basically looking to revise our selection of officials policy for boxing and MMA events. The current policy right now for world title fights in boxing is a list of 4 referees and 8 judges will be provided to the promoter on record about 3 to 4 weeks in advance. What we are proposing is that, after having an open dialogue with the promoters and, understanding what they're looking for in terms of location, neutrality of officials, experience of officials, our thought is that we will just have, 3 weeks prior, we will present them with our selection for referee and judge, and if they have any objections, they'll have 3 days to state that. This policy also is adjusting to our new rules and regs regarding 10 days prior to each boxing and MMA event. The promoters will be informed of who the officials are for that event, and at that point, they'll have a chance to object to the card.
When a promoter is going to object to one of the officials, what recall do they have? They're just going to open a discussion?
Yeah, they have to have a valid reason as to why they would want to object to somebody, and they would need to be able to document it and verify why it's legitimate.
I don't see how they can have a valid reason. They're giving their opinion on that official. We selected them, so we know they're.
Well, ideally, the plan is to select officials that they wouldn't want to object to, and you want to at least give them the option to make sure that.
But you're always going to have one camp preferring one guy and one preferring another. I agree. You should have full power to do this, and the promoters' input, as if we're having them dictate policy. I agree. We should have full control over all of that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And it's recourse, not recall.
Recourse. Sorry, sir. Your tutelage is much appreciated.
But I think this
I'm a grammarian here.
I think this is good as well because it allows the promoter to have a voice.
A voice.
Right? And basically lay a claim out, say if there's whatever reason why they think an official shouldn't be there, it gives them a voice. And then we can determine. We can look at their objection, and then. Again, it's in our sole discretion to decide. So.
Your discretion.
Absolutely.
That's the plan with this proposed policy. So.
But the same amount, 4 referees and 8 judges.
No, it'll be 1 referee and 3 judges that we select after vetting the event and the bout, and they have to object to that 1 referee or those 3 judges.
That's the way it was in the past. It works very well. Good.
All right.
I agree.
Next.
Make a motion?
Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I would. I'd like to make a motion to approve the
Second the motion.
selection of officials.
Second.
Okay, so a motion to approve the selection of officials policy for professional boxing and mixed martial arts made by Commissioner Signorelli, seconded by Commissioner Torres. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. And that unanimous approval for that policy. Next item on the agenda is the approval or the proposed boxing officials fee schedule. And again, I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Boxing, Eric Bentley.
Okay, so our old rules and regs actually laid out a formula on how officials should be paid for title bouts. I've been monitoring that formula since as long as I've been working here. On the 2 pages down, you'll see a spreadsheet I created, which essentially outlines, all the title fights that have taken place in New York since December of 2015, the combined purses, and then what the compensation of each official was. And it's fairly inconsistent. You'll see that there was a bout on 4/16/16 where the combined purses were less than the bout underneath it on the co-main, but the officials were paid, essentially $600 more. Ideally, you want to have a gradual increase based on the combined purses for the officials to be paid. So the formula I put together that we put together for the title bouts here is just basically, taking the analysis of these numbers, the ranges of what the combined purses were, and finding a middle ground that was fair and consistent so that there was a steady progression for title fight officials. As for the undercard, the way we used to pay undercard or non-title bout officials was based on net receipts. Unfortunately, there were, and Matt can attest to this, there were quite a few times where the promoters would undershoot in advance what their ticket sales were, and they would end up jumping 1, 2, sometimes even 3 levels higher, and we would have to chase them down or reach out to them again to get additional checks for our officials. By basing it on venue capacity, we're essentially separating the larger events from the smaller scale events. In a situation where maybe a smaller promoter is doing a show at a stadium that holds over 5,000, for the most part what they're going to do is they're going to set the seating capacity for less anyway, because they're not going to anticipate selling that many tickets. In those cases, they would obviously be at the 5,000 or less capacity so that they weren't getting the higher cost. We feel like this is the most efficient way to do it. I've spoken to other commissions, and while they may do it the antiquated way as well, the people I spoke to all said they wanted to try to adjust it along these lines so that it's more consistent and accurate. So if you have any questions regarding this proposal, I'm happy to discuss it.
So in venues over 5,000, you're recommending $500 is the minimum per diem for a judge.
Which is what they get right now.
And under 5,000, it's 200.
Correct.
Right? Years ago, it was like 175.
So it ranges from
That's fair.
150 to 225 for the judges,
Right.
and it ranges from 225 to I believe 350 for the referees.
And the timekeeper, what, they go up $50?
Timekeeper's always been 200 for the smaller shows and 300 for the larger shows.
So it's not devastating. No.
Bargain basement.
Oh, James. Mr. Leary. Yeah.
Any questions about the fee schedule?
The fee is none.
No questions?
None for me.
No.
Nope.
Okay, so then do we have a motion to approve the boxing officials fee schedule?
I make a motion to approve it.
And I second it.
Motion to approve the boxing officials fee schedule made by Commissioner Signorelli, seconded by Commissioner Torres. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. And that is approved. Thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is approval of the gloves for MMA that were used in the December 31st event at Madison Square Garden. The commission did not meet before that event, and so the staff approved the gloves, and we're asking for the retroactive approval of these gloves, and Matt can describe the gloves. And as you recall, we did approve the gloves used by the UFC for the 2 MMA events on November 12th and December 9th. A different promoter promoted the event on December 31st, used a different glove, although a very similar glove, if not precisely the same glove, but made by a different manufacturer. I'll let Matt describe.
Yeah, I think if Kim wants to chime in, she's the MMA director, but essentially we went through her evaluation form and it passed every aspect of the form that she created. So if she wants to just
You want to take
add
her off mute?
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's off mute. She just has to
Okay.
go off mute herself.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here, guys. Are you getting feedback?
Yeah. You're not
Too much
feedback.
feedback, guys?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So the World Series of Fighting gloves are very similar to the gloves made by Century for the UFC. Essentially, they pass all of the issues that we look at, making sure that they have open fingers and they're split at the web of the finger. They do have the open palm. The thumb strap is included. Basically, I didn't find anything wrong with these gloves at all, so we did approve them for use.
I do see, though, on your sheet that the weight of the gloves, the left glove and the right glove, you have as different weights.
Yeah, that's common. They very rarely weigh exactly the same. When you look at point ounces, you might be looking at a little bit more padding in one than the other because they're not an exact science. That's very, very common. As long as they're within a couple of ounces of each other, that's not a concern for us. Or a couple of point ounces, sorry,
So, yeah, a couple
of each
times.
other. That's not a concern for us.
Any questions about the gloves? Any concerns?
Not from me.
If not, can we get a motion to approve the gloves used on December 31st?
So moved.
I second it.
Moved by Commissioner Torres, seconded by Commissioner Signorelli. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the gloves are approved. There's no need to approve new gloves. All the gloves that are being used for the next event are already approved. We've already approved the UFC gloves for the February MMA event, so we're in good shape with gloves for the next couple of events. Next item is old business, and I'll just take a minute here and talk about a couple of things by way of sort of an executive director's report. One of the issues I wanted to bring up is just to say on the record, and I know we've spoken individually about this, and the insurance insurance policy was approved under the new regulations and statute that went into effect on September 1st. The first time that policy was used was at the December 31st event at Madison Square Garden. The insurance company is United States Fire, and that policy is also going to be used for the event coming up on this coming weekend at the Barclays Center. So the boxing and MMA promoters do have an insurance policy they can call upon and to meet the requirements of the new statute and regulations. Any questions about the insurance at all?
It is very costly compared to what we were told initially.
It is more costly.
It's practically 3 to 4 times more than the smaller promoters were paying before. And I tried to take a look at the record of events that we had previously, the year before and the year before. We had nearly 40 and 44 events every year. Last year we had 20 events after the stipulation of the insurance from September to December. Now it's out there, and we have no smaller promoters promoting in fights because they can't afford this. It's difficult for the smaller promoters to run a show, in my opinion. They're not earning much, and our local fighters are being forced to go fight out of state now, and we're not safeguarding them from anything. If they're going to other commissions, we don't know what they're doing. They're taking care of their fighters and their commission, and we should be trying to improve it. Is there a way we can improve it? I know the wording we can't change, such as, you know, the traumatic brain injury per fighter. My opinion, it should have said per event, whoever wrote the bill, that's what caused this problem, but we don't have the power to change that, do we?
Well, would require an act of the legislature to change that. That's correct. As you know, the legislation says that the commission can adjust the amounts, and in order to do that, the commission would have to develop some factual basis to adjust the amounts. And but you know, this is a new requirement. It's a new insurance policy, and not unlike insurance and other requirements that come into effect when we're regulating industries in the state, over a period of time, it is our belief that the cost will very likely come down as the insurance companies and the industry gain experience and start collecting data on the claims history. And so that's something that we can look forward to. But we have to, remember that the legislative act was very clear in stating that the health and safety of the fighters and the fighters that are in New York, fighting in New York, is protected, and that their welfare is protected through adequate financial compensation in the event that they do get a long-term brain injury. And so it's not something that can be lightly changed, can be changed very easily without some data, some research, in order to justify a change and avoid a claim of being arbitrary, frankly.
So do we have, at this point, are there any other insurance companies that have filed with the state? Or is US Fire the only one?
We're not aware of any others. There may be others that have filed with the state other than US Fire. I know that the UFC's company filed with the state. That was AIG, and was told to us, though, that they weren't marketing their policy to any other entities other than the UFC. So other than AIG and US Fire, we're not aware of any other insurance companies or underwriters, but there may be. There may be other other filings. We're just not aware of them.
So again, we have the right to change the amount, but we need data to go forward with this.
That's correct.
And how do we provide this data?
Well, I think what we're working on at the staff level is the way to go, and that is we're doing research right now. We have a couple of staff people working on researching the issue of compensation, for traumatic brain injury issues, traumatic brain injury and life-threatening brain injury. And I think through that research, we might be able to, we're looking at other states with their limits. We're looking at claims history. We'll be looking at other vehicles other than insurance, other indemnity type vehicles other than insurance that might be as effective and yet less costly, because that's the balance.
My only issue is it's not we can't change it, the wording, traumatic brain injury per fighter. I'd rather see a catastrophic that encompasses that and encompasses that $50,000 injury. So they're covering, it would be less costly, in my opinion. I'm not experienced with this, but it'd be less costly for the promoters. Whatever we could do to assist and still give our fighters their coverage. But that one pinpoint on traumatic brain injury, that leaves out so many of the things that could occur. I would rather, I don't know who we could, the legislator or whoever creates these bills, but like I said, the bill wasn't thought out, in my opinion.
Well, I mean,
now I want to just get us back everyone's not working, the referees, the
Sure.
judges, deputies, everyone.
No, I mean, one of the roles of the commission is to recommend legislative changes. So that's certainly within the purview of the commission. And if you'd like to work with us, we can work with you on a proposal that goes to the legislature. That's certainly something that is in your power, and that's one of the main functions of the body, for sure.
I'll be here Monday.
Okay.
We're off Monday.
MLK Day.
I'll be here anyhow. I'll start early.
Well,
It's
if you want to come in Monday, we'll be in Monday.
I've noticed it's very important. We have 4 bouts scheduled from now till June. Is that right? Is it 4 or 3?
No, from that, Tony, were you going to touch on that in your report?
great.
or-
Yeah, no, but go ahead. I was going to go over the next few events, but please go ahead, Eric.
So we have this
Thanks.
weekend, obviously set at the Barclays, the Bell Entertainment is promoting. February 11th will be a UFC event at the Barclays Center. Right now in March we have 3 events scheduled. The Bell Entertainment has a hold on March 4th at the Barclays. Top Rank has March 17th at the MSG Theater, and K2 Promotions has March 18th on hold at Madison Square Garden.
K2 is MMA or boxing?
Boxing.
So all
So
3
we
are
have-
boxing in
We have
March.
3 boxing events from now till June.
Correct. 3 boxing in March.
Any MMA in March?
Kim?
Next MMA
Sorry, guys, it
event.
takes a minute to get this off of mute. No, nothing on the books. I'm hearing rumors about MMA in April in Buffalo, but nothing concrete yet.
So 3 boxing events with the large promoters is what we
Well,
have.
and then in April we have April 22nd at the Barclays Center for the Bell Entertainment. They're reopening Nassau Coliseum April 29th.
That's a great venue,
Bell
good.
Entertainment.
Good for them.
And then there are 5 other dates throughout July scheduled.
Okay, so it's still active. Good.
Yep, and as I said, I think that we're gonna see. We've heard the same things as you, Commissioner, about the small promoters, and particularly upstate. And we are very concerned because we want to make sure that there's a strong boxing and MMA industry in New York State. We're committed to that, and particularly upstate as well. So we'll be working on that. Next, Eric touched on the events that are coming up. I also just wanted to mention that I know you know this already, but we had 3 successful MMA events in the last quarter of last year. I want to thank Kim Sumbler, our MMA project coordinator, and the rest of the team, Eric, Matt, Jim Leary, JJ's been very helpful, our per diem officials, our deputy commissioners, our inspectors, and our medical staff. Nitin Sethi, the new chief medical officer, and Angela Gagliardi, the assistant chief medical officer, because they really did a fantastic job regulating those 3 events. Of course, the first one on November 12th at Madison Square Garden was the first event, over 20,000 people in the Garden. A huge headliner for that event, main event, main card, and it was very well received. And then, of course, we had the December 9th event in Albany. That was a nice kickoff for MMA Upstate, and then the December 31st event at Madison Square Garden in the theater. That was a different promoter. That was the World Series of Fighting. The promoters have done a good job. They and our staff has done very well adapting to the differences between MMA and boxing. And I think that our medical staff particularly has been stellar. We have a lot of new medical procedures and protocols, examination procedures and protocols, forms that are used. Those are the ones that you, the commissioners, approved at our last meeting in November. And those forms, procedures, protocols, and policies have all been put into effect, and they've worked very well so that we've been able to safeguard the health and safety of the fighters. And so I'd like to, just thank all the staff for their work, and look forward to this weekend with our first boxing event in a while. I don't have
Tony,
anything. Yes, sir.
I have a question with regards to, you and I spoke, we really don't have any policies for ring access with regards to MMA, where we do in boxing. And I noticed all the deputies, not all, but the majority of them that were working ringside were under the impression to follow the protocol we use in boxing. And we had total chaos the first night, my opinion, where the deputy did his job and then he was not reprimanded. He was told, no, it's okay. And he's like, this is what we're told to do. I'm doing the right thing, right, John? I said, yeah, definitely, good job. And then we're saying, no, we can do this now because we really don't have protocol. Can we develop something?
Yes.
We need to develop a standard for that, for meeting people. I know there was an issue with photographs, and everyone is there told not to take photographs, correct?
Yes. That's right.
Everyone, right?
Staff. At the
judges' seminar, at the referee seminar, at the inspector's seminar, which I attended, they were all told not to go up to the celebrities and not to take photos with anyone or in the crowds or in the back. That's my taking from all three of these events. And at this event, some staff were taking photographs, referees were taking photographs, and we're not treating the referees with the same discretion as we are the staff. We're patting them on the back, and we had a discussion, me and someone ringside, and I said, they are taking photographs right behind us. What do you think of that? And this individual said to me, well, are you going to tell John McCarthy he's not going to take a photograph? My response was, no one takes photographs. We're allowing that to be displayed in front of everyone, and we're punishing others. If the punishment should fit the crime, and they're told not to do that. So going forward, we should advise all the officials, as we did in the seminar. I don't know, MMA has no policy.
No, we do have photograph policy
We
for
do.
MMA.
So here we
Same
are,
thing.
we're letting one guy go and not another one.
So John, can I interrupt? No, but can I interrupt here? Can I just think that talking about personnel, I don't think.
I'm not talking names, I'm talking in general.
But I do.
Okay.
But maybe that's a conversation with council.
But I would agree with that.
If we could handle something
if we have specific personnel matters to discuss, we should do that offline. I'd be happy to discuss them with you and to work on them. We can also talk with HR about individual instances. I understand, to the extent that you're talking about policy development.
Right.
I think that's fine. I would just encourage remarks to be kept general without any, let's not get into any specific.
No, I didn't. Myself was the only one named in that conversation.
But we do have right now, we have policy for both MMA and boxing in terms of photos.
And we're not adhering to it. Yeah. That's my point.
Well,
so you're talking about the execution of the policy, right?
Well, I'm sitting there watching people hugging and taking group photos behind me.
Okay.
We're allowing it. We'll discuss it further.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, it's in the code of conduct that we adhere to a standard of excellence that applies to. Now, that code of conduct does apply to staff.
Not the officials.
No, that the code of conduct. But I agree with you. We have informed and advised the officials that they have to maintain a standard of professionalism at events, and so that is a little different than the code of conduct. But we can definitely develop a policy on that. And just with regard to that event that you mentioned, I mean, the issue was, and there is a difference. I mean, in don't
get me wrong, the event went very well. The staff, everybody did a great job. Deputies, the inspectors, the staff, very good, very good. I'm just saying there was confusion on what to do because they're going by the boxing policy, and they were doing the right thing. A couple of things, but they went well.
Yeah, and just to clarify, for the boxing policy, there's a very prescriptive bulletin that the commission has passed about ring access, locker room access, which applies to boxing by its terms, and then for MMA, questions regarding ring access and locker room access are still left to the discretion of the commission, and it's reviewed with the promoter beforehand. So there may be confusion, but it sounds like that's something we'll work on developing, a written, something that gives parity with boxing as far as having that written order out there.
Please, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other issues of new business from the commissioners? If no other new business, then I would say we can accept a motion to adjourn. Thank you for coming today for our meeting. Does anyone make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I second it.
So moved by Commissioner Torres and seconded by Commissioner Signorelli. All in favor of motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And we are adjourned. Thank you again for coming. We'll look forward to speaking with you and seeing you at the next meeting and the next event.